Welcome to the November the 26th, 2002 pre-taping of our history show, It Happened in Grand Prairie, number 475. We're delighted that you're in our viewing audience, and we know that you're going to enjoy this historical pictorial that we're bringing to you today. We're so pleased to have two very special people, longtime Grand Prairians, to talk with about their life, and to also excerpts about the First Presbyterian Church. And we have the minister of the First Presbyterian Church, all cornered here to have him on the show a little bit later on, but he's going to be on the stage with us as we begin the first part of this history documentary on Janine and Jerry Bird. Jerry, welcome to the set.
Thank you, Ruthie.
All right. And Janine, we're so glad to have you back on the set. You're always here about other things, about First Presbyterian Church and doing good things. And Reverend Jim, we're just so glad to have you with us too today.
I'm happy to be here.
And that is Reiners?
Reiners.
Reiners. I made an A then on that one, didn't I? Good. We're going to get back with you in a few minutes because we're going to talk a little bit more about the church specifically. But right now, we're into these two very fine people. Jerry, would you tell us a little bit about yourself personally? Would you look out into your camera and give us the names of your parents?
My father was Paul Bird. My mother was Irma Bird. I moved to Grand Prairie in 1944 during World War II. My dad was in the Navy.
Your dad was in the Navy, and your mother's maiden name was?
Martin.
Martin, okay. And they moved to Grand Prairie in that magic date in the 40s from where?
Dangerfield, East Texas.
Dangerfield, East Texas. And where was Jerry born?
I was born in Cass County, Texas.
In Cass County, Texas, kind of out in the country, or what?
That's right.
And you went to school where in your elementary grades?
Went to Hugh Springs until I moved to Grand Prairie.
Till you moved to Grand Prairie, Texas, okay. And when you moved to Grand Prairie, Texas in the 40s, where did you go to school?
Crockett School is where I started.
To Crockett Elementary. Okay, and at Crockett Elementary, who was your favorite teacher and favorite subject at Crockett?
Oh, Ms. Landers was one of my teachers.
Thelma Landers?
I thought a lot of First Baptist Church Landers.
That's the group.
Right.
Yes. Oh, that is wonderful. And then from there, you went on to middle school?
Right. Junior high, the first year
that
opened at Lee Junior High, and then Grand Prairie High School.
Then Grand Prairie High School. And Grand Prairie High School found you in what graduating class?
1952.
1952. You know, that's a good number, and if you aren't a member of the Alumni Association, your wife's going to see that you are, because she is really involved in...
I believe I'm a charter member.
You're a charter member of that. Okay. Life member and charter member, and that is really wonderful. And after leaving Grand Prairie High School, where did Jerry go?
I went to Arlington State College.
Arlington State.
After the Navy. I went into the Navy. Graduated from Arlington State in 1961.
All right, where did you serve in the Navy, and what area?
Navy, U.S. Navy, on board a ship.
On board, you remember your ship name?
Yeah, USS Mount McKinley, AGC-7.
Okay, all right, he knows the numbers too. Oh, that is great. And then coming back after your tour of duty in the Navy, and then you went to the Arlington State College, and then what did you do after that?
Went to work for Vault. Worked there 34 years.
All right, now I'm going to leave you at Vault. Okay. Because I know that in the interim somewhere I've got to connect up with Janine, see, and I need Janine for you to look out into your camera and give us your parents' names, including your mom's maiden name.
My mother was Mildred Witherspoon Milam, and my dad was Clarence Milam.
Yes.
And my parents were lifelong. Mother was a lifelong resident of Grand Prairie. I was actually born in Dallas, but we lived in Grand Prairie.
Yes.
And when I started to school, we just had the old high school building.
The old red building
College.
on College Street.
And I started there in first grade. Yeah. And about halfway through, they completed the first elementary schools in Grand Prairie, and I think that included Travis, Austin, and Crockett.
Those three.
And I lived down in East Grand Prairie, and so I started to Travis Elementary, and when I completed the 6th grade there, Lee opened up. And so I was there for the very first year for Lee.
Yes.
And stayed there at Lee Middle School. And when I completed my junior high, we called it then, Grand Prairie High School opened up.
And you got to go to a brand new building.
All new, every school that opened up, it just happened to be my time. And then I started at Grand Prairie High School, the new high school.
And who was the principal when you were there?
Was it Mr. Combs? That's hard for me to remember. I think it was Browning Combs.
Browning Combs, okay.
Was there at that time.
Any favorite teachers at Grand Prairie High School?
I loved music, and most of my credits were in band and choir. And of course, I'd have to say Mr. Keel was a favorite. In fact, he started at Lee, and while I was there, and I played the piano for him at Lee. And then when he came on up to high school, I was really involved in all of the musical productions that we did there.
Yes.
So I'd have to say Mr. Keel was a favorite.
Was a favorite. Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother, Jim Milam, and he resides over in Plano, Texas.
Okay.
And of course, he was a Gopher too.
Yes, yes.
And came through Grand Prairie High
And
School.
after graduating from Grand Prairie High School in the magic year of?
I graduated in 1954.
Okay.
And Jerry and I were in high school together, and his story is that we were both in choir, and this probably ought to be his story, that as I went to the piano, I kind of caught his eye. And
True story.
True story. And I guess I was a sophomore and he was a senior, and we started dating.
Oh, man.
He's almost the only person I've dated throughout my high school career. And then I guess after we graduated from high school, I went on to college over at UTA for a year at that point, and then we married in 1955.
1955 is a good year.
And I don't know if this will fit in at this point, but I believe that we were the very first couple to be married in our sanctuary that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Yes. Oh, that is wonderful.
So we married in 1955.
All right. And did you pursue a career in what?
Well, for a little while, I guess 7 or 8 years, I was a secretary out at Vaught.
Yeah.
And when Jerry came back from the service, and I may be getting in on his territory, he had gone back to school, but I worked during that time. And we didn't have any children at that point, and we decided to adopt a little girl. And so I left work suddenly when she arrived, and our daughter Lori we adopted in 1963, and then, as it always happens, about 4 years later, we were blessed with a son, Jason.
Okay.
So we have 2 children.
Okay. And we know that Jerry spent all of these many years at Vaught doing what?
Engineering administration.
Okay, engineering. And you retired in what year?
94.
In 1994.
Think about that one a little bit.
And since you've been retired, what have you been doing? Honeydew jobs?
Honeydew, yes. Taking care of 6 grandsons.
6 grandsons.
Enjoying that.
Okay. So Laurie and Jason have blessed you all with 6 wonderful babies.
Right.
Okay, that is wonderful. And Janine, while he was working at engineering and doing all this stuff, what did you do?
Well, I ended up, after I stayed at home with our daughter, I decided, and Jerry, we both agreed it would be a good idea for me to go back to school. So I started back to college. a little bit uneasy because I was a little bit older than the
Yes.
average age of college kids. So I started off taking just a couple of, maybe 2 classes and building on. Eventually, received my degree from North Texas, commuted up to North Texas with a small child. And then soon after I completed my degree, I went to work for the Grand Prairie School District. Started over at Bowie Elementary,
At Bowie.
teaching 6th grade. Mr. Wages was my principal
Yes.
over there. And in 1975, the district decided to make junior highs middle schools.
Yes.
And so they moved the 6th grade up
junior
a
high.
notch. And I went to Jackson Middle School
Okay.
around 1975. And I taught for 28 years before I retired, most of it at Jackson, where I truly loved. I've had such wonderful principals out there. I had a Buddy Berry, and Don Blanchard was out there, Mr. Alexander.
Yes. All of them have filtered through there, haven't they?
I just raised them up so well. They
Yes,
all
you
went
did.
up to...
Were you there for the new 9th grade center opening at Jackson?
I was not there, unfortunately.
It was a very enlightening experience. It's a beautiful campus, beautiful new campus. So you left it in good hands.
Well, I felt like I would. I was not sure at the time that I was really ready to leave the school business because you'd been so involved in it for so many years and
It
had
was
so
life,
many
wasn't
friends.
it?
It was really hard to do, but we've had a really enjoyable retirement life. We've been doing a lot of traveling and getting really involved in a lot of activities in the church and in the community.
And that's one of the reasons why we're here today, too, on the extension of your life. You have become so involved in possibly the historical happenings that's going to happen at the First Presbyterian Church very soon. You want to tell us about that, or do you want Jerry to tell about it? Then we're going to ask Brother Jim to hook on to that.
My grandfather was one of the founders of
All right, you
our
have his
Presbyterian
picture
Church.
that we could
Yes, I do.
we can show and tell.
This is Jim and Lula Witherspoon. And my grandfather was a pioneer in Grand Prairie.
Okay.
He came here in his very early childhood. He was on Grand Prairie's very first school board.
Oh, good.
He was the first mail carrier. And I was looking through the history of Grand Prairie, an edition that was put out in the paper a little while ago.
Yes.
And they mentioned his name and said that he earned $50 a month.
Doing the mail route.
Doing the mail route for Grand Prairie. And he, along with some others in Grand Prairie, decided that we needed a permanent home for the Presbyterian Church. So he and there were 17 or 18
Charter
other
members.
William Wallace Kerr, who is Marie Stufflebeam's grandfather as well, and some of the others that Dr. Copeland was also one of the charter members of the church in organizing it. My Aunt Winnie Hale, I don't know if you remember her, Miss Ruth Miller, G.V. Miller, Mr. and Mrs. Horton, the Halls, Dr. Copeland, Hicks Jackson, Grover Jackson, and F.M. Harris were the charter members of our church. And the first church we had was down on Center Street.
Cornell Center and Dallas.
Yes.
Yes.
Little rock church.
We have a picture of that in one of the old newspapers.
Well, in around 1952, they decided that we were growing and we needed a more permanent home. And on Dr. Copeland's property, we erected our sanctuary that we're going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of. But the session during that time paid an especially nice tribute to my grandfather, James Witherspoon, and to Mr. Kerr. And at that time, they named it in their honor, the Kerr Witherspoon. They called it Chapel at that time. And there was nothing, even though it was recorded in all of our documents and everything, they never did do anything officially. So Lindy Chandler, looking through some old records of the church, brought it to my attention a few years ago. So in 1999, we officially named it the Kerr Witherspoon Chapel.
How wonderful. And so we're going to celebrate that chapel. I believe you have a picture of Dr. Copeland at the groundbreaking.
This is the actual.
We don't dare ask Louis to come back out to do that shot for us since our students aren't here today.
Okay.
But let's just hold that up. And do you know the other people that are there with Dr. Copeland with the shovel?
I do. This is Mrs. E.E. Hall.
Okay.
Over on the left. And then that's Dr. Copeland. That's the actual groundbreaking. And next to him is Miss Ethel Jackson.
Yes.
And then Reverend Benton is the pastor that was there at that time.
Yes.
He also married Jerry and I.
Oh, he did.
This happened in 1952, and we married in 55, but
he was still the minister.
He was still the minister, and I've been able to make contact with his children and letting them know about the celebration that we're going to have very soon.
Well, you know that you're here. You would have had another person on the dais today if the Lord had not taken Martha Richardson away, because she was so into this history and was ready to help do the history of the church. And we miss her desperately, but in that desperation, we just need to get to talk to Reverend Jim just a little bit. What is it like to come into a town where you have such a wonderful congregation that is so glued together that they're all really family and they're all kin to each other? Isn't that exciting?
It's wonderful. Every day I count my blessings about how great my family and I are blessed by coming to Grand Prairie and being a part of this church and its ministry.
Yes, and you came from where?
We had been up in Wichita, Kansas for almost 4 years before we came down here.
Well, I know that when the search was going on, Martha Richardson was a member of our Saturday morning prayer group. And every Saturday morning she would come and offer a prayer for the search committee that was looking for just the right minister. And so you were prayed into this place whether you knew it or not, because there were a lot of people in Grand Prairie, Texas that were really on your trail. And I know that it is an exciting time. What do you think about the activities that are planned for this 50th anniversary?
I think it's great. We've got a little group together that had started to talk about the future of our church. Yes. And Janine is a member of that group. And one of the things we started talking about is before we can even begin to get a grasp of our future, we need to have a better understanding of our past.
Yes.
And it occurred to us that this anniversary was coming up quickly, and it kind of snuck up on us. And so we're trying to scramble and get together a lot of the pictures and send out invitations to some of the old members and the children of former members, and put together a really nice celebration.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, in with this celebration, is it going to be over a period of one day or a weekend or a month, or how long is our celebration going to be?
It'll just be the one day, December the 8th, which is a Sunday.
It's going to be December the 8th, okay.
The anniversary date is December 7th, 1952, so we're going to celebrate on Sunday the 8th. At our worship service, we'll have a rededication of the sanctuary, and then we'll have a reception following when we can hopefully take a time to meet and greet all of our visitors. We're hoping will come.
All right. Are y'all doing videos and pictures and everything to really document this occasion? I need to know all of this good stuff.
Well, I guess we're still in the planning stage, so we haven't got all the pieces put together, but we've been going through some of our photo albums where Janine found these two photos, and we have plenty of other things like that we're going to try and set out and make available to members and visitors so they can take some time to look through them and see what our history has been like.
Oh, that's wonderful. Jerry, what kind of assignment has Janine given you on this job? Or are you going through books and things, or are you the memory tester?
I do anything she tells me to.
That's wonderful. Oh, that is really great. And are you excited about this? Are you going to bring back some old friends that you haven't seen in a long time?
We plan to try, yes.
Yes, Is there anyone really special that you remember? Your favorite minister up until Brother Jim came along?
The Benton children.
The Benton children.
Hope that some of them will be able to attend.
Oh, that would be exciting, won't
Yes,
it?
it will.
Okay. And Janine, at the First Presbyterian Church, what offices have either of you all held during these years? Have you been a teacher?
I've been a Sunday school teacher, been Bible school director, served as a deacon for several terms, served as an elder for a number of terms. One of the things that I just love is my mother made me join the church choir when I was 12 years old. And I've been there ever since, and it is one of the truly loves of my life. I really enjoy being in the choir.
Yes.
I'm involved with the women's work in the church, but having my family having such an important part in the development of this church has meant so much to me, and I just hope my children have the same desires and feelings and devotion to the church. All of my uncles and aunts, when we came to church on Sunday, it was just a granted thing that we always went to one of the aunts' houses for lunch. The whole family was over there, and it was just completely an all-day.
A reunion every Sunday.
Every single Sunday. And Jerry started out as a Baptist, and I was so pleased that he decided to become a Presbyterian with me, because it would have been very difficult for me to leave some place that I love so much.
Yes. Now, you all do a reach out and touch someone in 2 or 3 different ways. You have a service that you offer, I believe, for Ladies' Day Out or something like
Parents'
that.
Day Out.
Parents' Day Out.
We do.
I think that is a tremendous thing, and does that still go on? That is a hard thing, momentum, to keep enough volunteers to keep that going, and that's great.
Yeah, we have Parents' Day Out, which is on Monday and Wednesdays, and they provide child care at reasonable cost to families, and it's a wonderful ministry of the church.
Oh, that is wonderful. Plus, now your Fall Bazaar is second to none, and you can have more fun. And tell me about who's in charge of that, and how long have y'all been doing that fundraiser?
It's been a number of years. I'd say at least 10, something like that. And Pat Stitt and Lily Martinez came up with, this was their brainchild.
Yes.
And they did it for a couple of years, and the responsibility has just passed on to various ones. And this past year, we have a young couple that have taken on the responsibility of youth directors, and it looked like we were going to have a little bit of a problem. Some of us are kind of wearing out a little bit from doing these things, and this young lady picked up the pace, and I would say it was probably one of the most successful craft fairs that we've had. Her energy level was just incredible, and as soon as she completed it, she indicated that, I want to do this again next year. I know how to do it now. And
she was ready.
So you probably know Paul Martinez. He's a young man in our church and on the school board.
Yes.
And recently, during our stewardship campaign, Paul did a little segment called Minute for Mission.
Yes.
And he mentioned growing up in the church, and it was time for them to step up to the task and take some of these responsibilities.
Really?
And we were really moved by Paul's
his testimony
to the church. So we're passing the torch somewhat to some of these. Doug Bryan is another one of our young people who has grown up in the church.
Yes,
And,
with his father, J.C.,
oh, yes.
who is a
And,
marvelous singer in his own right.
absolutely. We use that talent quite often.
Yes. And of course, being the past president of the Gophers Alumni Association, we count on all of that family. You know, we count on the Presbyterians a lot from all over this community because y'all bring a lot of quality of life to the city of Grand Prairie, Texas, and its environs. I know that so many people that are members of your church have been very important in the community, like Wendell Hulsey and Mildred Walker, some of the others that I work with in Chamber of Commerce or city activities or such as, and we're just so pleased that y'all are going to be able to celebrate. So, Janine, I'm going to make you the honorary spokesman for this group, and I want you to look out into your camera and invite anyone that's ever had anything to do with the First Presbyterian Church to remember that magic date and extend them an invitation and invite them.
Sunday, December the 8th, during our worship service, we are going to rededicate the Kerr Witherspoon Sanctuary. The birthday, it's the 50th anniversary of this historic sanctuary, and we are striving very hard to contact friends or anyone who is a former member of the church that would like to share in this special day for us. We've made contact with the newspaper, and of course this is a very good channel today for us to send our message out to everybody with a cordial invitation to join us. We'll have a reception following the service, and Jim is working very hard to make it a very special time. He's asked a representative from our presbytery to be there for us. Several people from the congregation will tell of their memories as related to the church, and so it's going to be a very special day for us.
I recently attended the 90th anniversary of the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Grand Prairie, and they read a 4-page history of their 90th years in Grand Prairie. It was outstanding, and we've added it to our archives in the Grand Prairie Historical Organization, so save us a copy of your history.
Oh, we will.
I want to thank y'all for sharing with us today. And Brother Jim, would you tell them the address of the First Presbyterian Church here in Grand Prairie, Texas?
We are located at 310 Southwest 3rd Street, which is on Southwest 3rd, about a block and a half south of Jefferson.
And your magic telephone number, if they want to call you, is?
972-262-6676.
Y'all are wonderful.
And worship is at 11 o'clock, so be there.
Yes, be there. Come on and take a preview of what's coming up on December the 8th, right?
Exactly.
Correct. Thank y'all for being here. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you, history is as we live and do.